Welcome to BRB Fancast. I'm AJ, and joined with me as always is Steve. So we actually have a winning streak, Steve. It's a winning streak against bottom feeders, but a winning streak nonetheless. Are you excited?
I am excited. A streak is a streak. Even if it's in your underwear, it's still a streak.
I'm not sure how to respond to that.
Just like your mom would. What the hell again? Like, that's the only way you can respond to that.
I think this is our first winning streak all year, actually. I know.
I mean, we have 7 of these now.
Yeah. What did you walk away thinking after this game?
F Kansas City.
Or as Apple broadcasters would say, Kansas.
Just Kansas. They don't deserve to be called Kansas City. They're in Kansas, one of the worst states in the country. So, like, they deserve to go back. I like seeing the pictures of all the fans from Kansas City, like 20 of them, just like climbing into a little bus and heading back the 4 hours, sad little drive, and just be done with it. And everyone gets to talk about firing Vermees again. They lost twice in a week. That's great.
Yeah, this was a good game. I mean, any game that you win with 3 goals in your pocket is always a good game. That means that your offense was offensing, and when you only gave up no or 1 goals, means your defense was defensing. Ideal, right? Now, there's a lot of things to kind of talk about this. I just want to kind of get into the big thing. You ready for the big thing?
Let's hit the big thing. I love the big thing.
Okay. So there's a lot of talk with Klaus and everything, and I think this is going to be good that we start top going downwards here. In fact, even Taylor Twellman was getting involved here. So I just want to kind of read a little bit of these tweets here. Basically, Matthew Racchio, he's the guy that's on the opening drive on ESPN. He's like the producer guy. Basically was kind of taunting the people who, quote unquote, said that a number 9 DP who doesn't score goals is useless, and basically said that Klaus was impacting all over the pitch. And then some random person had said, I thought you guys were talking about Twellman. Guy was talking about crap all game long. And Twellman basically actually responded to that. And this is what Twellman essentially said. He said, they've scored the second fewest goals at home. Your number 9 has 5 goals in the last 30 appearances for the club. In a league where the DP has to hit, there's a legit debate with that level of impact. Tonight, he was good, but your team isn't in the playoffs. How do you not want to talk about it? That would be ignorant, and trust me, Lutz and company have noticed. If he plays, then you must get 20 plus goals from your wingers. Will this team do that? Now, naturally, that was part of opening the floodgates, and he had mentioned something similar to that on the broadcast. And Matt Baker and some of the other podcasters and influencers, wherever you want to call them out there, basically have been defending Klaus, saying that he has a good game. Now, with all that being said, what is Steve, the most important thoughts here, think?
I do think that he's, oh my God, what am I doing like the people will do with Thor this year? I think he's getting better again. I think that his presence, yeah, oh my God, I'm making excuses for a guy making almost $1 million. Like, his presence out there is significant and it's big. And like I said other times and before, we signed the best player we could a couple years ago, and he as our DP. So when we signed him, he was our best player. When we played him last year, he was our best player. At the beginning of this season, he was our best player. Is he our best player anymore? No. Should he be our number 9 going forward? Probably not. We probably have to find a way to move things around him. But is he still a very impactful player in our team? Yeah, he is. I don't think Twellman said anything incorrect or anything out of hand about Klaus this season. Yeah. He's missed a lot of games. He did last year too, though. But I don't think he said anything out of hand. I think out of pocket, and I do think Klaus does have room for improvement. I think every player does. So yeah, I don't have a problem with anything that was said there. What about you?
Klaus is playing as this false 9, which I don't know if this is something he's preferring or the team is preferring. But I agree with Taylor Twellman here that if you have someone playing a false 9 like this, then you're going to need the wingers to kind of push forth a little bit more and play as almost kind of like a pseudo striker in a way, almost like a false striker, I guess you could call it. Hey, we made that term up. because there has to be some level of compensation. Now, the good thing is Toyer is definitely playing as that second striker, and he's had something like 7 goals in 11 games. So he is picking up that slack, and that's been great. Hartl obviously can score, and then as we saw, Leuven's going to get some of the goals in there as well. So the question is do we need a traditional striker, or are we okay being almost like, what did they Lutz call it earlier, like a team DP? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right? I forgot his phrasing, but is that okay?
Designated
Now,
team.
Designated team. That's
Designated team. What if that's our identity next year?
I mean, maybe. And the thing is like, if you look at it, like, we scored 3 goals. Who's complaining here? Now, if Klaus is that playmaker and he distributes the ball, he was impactful at least on 2 of the 3, if not 3 of the 3 here, then what are we complaining about? Because a lot of fans, what they focus on is they look at number 9 equals how many goals, right? I don't care how many goals he scores. I care about how many goals the team scores.
Yeah.
So if he's making contributions that allows Troyer or Hartl or Leuven or even the score, who cares? Now the question is are we going to be able to do that? Maybe. I don't know.
I can see with these guys we have around us now. Yeah. If, we tried this kind of at the beginning of the season, no. But the way the roster was built up, the players we had available, hell no. If Klaus wasn't doing it, nothing was getting done. That's why we were leaning on Thor all of a sudden to start. Once Klaus went down, I was like, that wasn't a winning proposition. Then all of a sudden, when we got highly qualified players in, then it all changed. Then we can see, now we can have some fun. Klaus, the pressure is taken off of him. The ability to just play is there. It was good to see them have kind of genuine fun last night. And like the corners, it doesn't always have to be Leuven anymore. You've got Hartl in there, you got Leuven, and you got other people taking corners. Then it's like we have options, and options are so much fun. It's so great.
So I got a question for you.
I have an answer.
So we're talking about this Klaus stuff, right? So a lot of times a striker, when they're playing a traditional striker and all that, you can basically change people around him and still be good. Now the question is I feel like Klaus depends a lot now on Troyer. So if he is not playing for some reason, what does that make Klaus? Does Klaus automatically become useless?
No,
because I feel like he needs a second striker with him.
Right. Well, so do I. And then you've got, next year we'll have Celio back. You've got, it's kind of hard without Toyer there. But Hartl's scored 2, and Alm stepped up, and he can do it as well. But yeah, I think that's going to be our dynamic duo moving into next year. I think that's kind of what we're seeing. But like we said, Celio and Klaus, they're countrymen. They have a really good relationship, and it's going to be interesting to see how that change of speed can work with Celio coming in. Because again, we got Celio to like 27. Like, he's going to be here quite a while. He is our future, and it's going to be interesting.
So let's just bring this up now. So this is looking a little less at this game and looking at more towards the future. But you've mentioned Celio, and a lot of people absolutely love Alm. I love what he's doing. He's a great winger. Now, the problem is what happens next year when you get Celio back? Who do you sit? Because here's what's realistically going to happen, right? You have Klaus, and let's say we're doing the 4 just for simplicity, right? So you have Klaus and Troyer up top. You know that's going to happen.
Right.
And then you got 2 wingers, and then you got the 2 central midfielders. Well, Leuven's going to be one of those, right? Hartl's going to be one of the wingers. So that means you have another midfielder and another winger left. So the problem is if you have Celio out there as the other winger, that means Alm is sitting, and Alm's a great player. If for some reason you find a way to finagle, like maybe Celio and Alm on the wings, and then put Hartl as kind of more of an attacking midfielder, like let's say we're doing the diamond, that means Leuven is playing the true defensive midfielder. That means someone like Durkin, he's not on the field.
Yeah, we got to have Durkin on the field. So,
but if you have Durkin on the field, you can't have Celio on Alm.
Right.
So what do you do?
Then Alm takes a break. Like, you can just every couple games or so, one of those guys who gets swapped out or so. Whoever's a hot foot, but gotta have Durkin out there. I gotta have Durkin with Leuven out there. Those two guys running the defensive side of the midfield, the central midfield. That's a tough midfield. That's going to be some fouls and some yellows. So that's a tough midfield. And I just don't know if it's without him. Or whomever, but it's got to. Yeah, I think Durkin and Leuven have to be out there. We see there's a difference in the quality when Durkin's not out there. That's just my opinion.
And the other problem is as we've seen, a lot of the balls have been going through Leuven. So if you do move him to the number 6 defensive midfielder instead of more the central midfielder, and you bring him back, then how does the ball progress? I guess maybe through Hartle or something. I don't know. This is a good problem to have. You remember at the first half of the season, we're like, okay, our team sucks. Like, who are we going to sub in? Our bench sucks. So it's like you put suck into suck. It's like, what's going on here?
Well, and then
now
we have
a good problem.
Right. And then one of our episodes was called like the kindergartners. We had all these City 2 players that had to come up because we had no depth. We were just like eviscerated. Like everyone was just gone. Now we don't have that. Now Johnny Klein doesn't have to be on our bench. Like now we don't have to have a lot of these players. And by the way, we got like Kojima that needs time too. Like what are we going to do with all these high quality players instead of the quantity players? Now we'll be able to focus on these qualities. And we discussed we're a top 7 team next year in the West. I don't see how we're not. I think I said top 9, but like looking at the construction of our lineup, like I think we can overtake Portland. I think we got the juice there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit further. I think as long as we kind of stitch together a few little things that are a little bit torn here, I think we could be a top 5 team reliably, easily. Now, one thing I've kind of noticed is that there's still some struggle going from the center midfield into our attacking midfield, that transition. Obviously playing a very different game right now, as you probably have noticed in these past few games. We're passing it back a lot, back to the center backs and to the goalkeeper. We're trying to maintain possession a little bit more, but I feel like we're almost risk averse. And then there's just some point where they're like, okay, we got to move it forward at some point. And then they do kind of more of the medium to long ball or long switches, which at that point are kind of a coin flip. Like there's not a lot of players dribbling up. That's where I miss Celio, because he was able to take the ball and actually dribble and progress the ball. I don't see that type of progression right now. And that actually has me a little bit worried, because the problem is you go up against a good team. If you don't have any of that, they're just going to shut you down. Totland was able to do quite a bit of that to some extent, but he hasn't been able to do that lately. So I don't know if he was just kind of I don't want to say one-hit wonder, but like a short period of time, because he definitely has tapered off, and I think everybody has noticed that as well.
Yeah.
Kind of like Betcher. Like he was super hot coming in for the first few games, and then he's kind of tapered off, unfortunately.
Yep.
Now, the biggest question is what do we do here? Because we have good players. Like if you compare these guys to the rest of the MLS, I really, really think we have a top 5 team. But is this a lack of coaching ability?
Yes, I would say so. I have not been super impressed with Hackworth as the head coach. I've said it multiple times. We could do better, and I think we should. I think we have to hit it out of the ballpark. We spent all this money on these high quality players coming in. We have to have a coach that can relate to them and to get them to work harder. Especially, I don't want to have a team of 2 halves next year. We play hard in the second half, hard in the first half. We got to put it all together. I think Hackworth has done a fine job. I don't think we need to be falling in love with him. We haven't exactly won a ton of games with him as a head coach. So like he didn't turn us into a playoff team. So if that's not happening, then we have to look outward. And I think that's where we're at. So yeah, I am confident that we can do a better job with our head coach. What do you think?
I think we're screwed, actually. So here's why. So when we fired Carnell, that was the time to try to snatch a head coach, because it was in the summer transfer window. I get a lot of teams maybe have had their coaching solidified, but who are we going to get in the middle of most league seasons, right? Because we're offset. So like at the end of the season, going into postseason, what coaches are left? there are some teams that might fire their head coach mid-season, right? And I guess we could snatch one of those guys. But I guess maybe there's some coaches sitting around not part of a team right now. But then if they're not part of a team, why?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, the one thing I don't know is when the MLS typically picks up their coaches, but it does make me wonder what's really going to be out there. And are we stuck with Hackworth by default here? Like, is he going to be like one of those 1.5 season coaches? So are we going to be stuck with him for a year and a half unless we change him out halfway through next season? Which that's not enough time to give a coach a chance, to be honest. Like, if you're going to make him a head coach, you got to give him at least a year to show what he truly is.
Yeah.
But this is too good of a team not to have a good coach. I just don't know what's going to be available. That's the problem.
Yeah, I agree. It's too high quality of players and in the prime of their career that we need a very high quality coach. We don't need a guy that stepped in. And I don't know if the players are going to respond to him for a full season. Man, I hope we don't get stuck with him because I think we're going to be in the same position next year if we have Hackworth as our head coach coming in the next year. I don't think he's going to get the players to do what we think they need to do, but maybe I would be pleasantly surprised to be wrong.
I don't know. I will say I think he's a okay coach. Like, I don't think he's a poor coach, right? Like, there are some really bad coaches out there. There's no doubt. Like, they don't game management. They just don't have good strategy. They just don't have a good feel for being a head coach. I feel like he actually has a decent grasp, but he's not going to light it up. Like, he's not going to make the players better. Right. I don't think he's going to make the players worse, but he's just kind of like a neutral contribution.
Right. Yeah. He's vanilla. Like
he's the 50th percentile.
Yeah.
I want to see at least a 70th percentile.
Right. We don't need to be a 50th percentile team. We need to be that 75th, 80th percentile to be on top of the board. Like, do we want to be fighting for that 9th spot, or do we want to potentially have a first round bye? And where we want to be next year? I want to be on that top 5. Like, I want to buy. That would be really interesting to do that again.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what's going to happen here. All right, so let's take this time to do our favorite game, goal or no goal. Steve, I got the first one for you, and we kind of talked about it, but yeah, got to kind of do it. STL Soccer News, great Twitter, recommend following. Basically said, quick test to see if someone knows soccer. If they thought Kloss had a bad game tonight, they don't know soccer.
Man, I don't know. Read it to me if they think Kloss had a bad game, they don't know soccer.
Yeah.
I would say that's a goal in that we shouldn't judge every player like that. But I would say no goal in that we're telling people they don't know soccer. Like, I don't know. I think if we're soccer fans and we're saying you had a bad game, then that's a goal for sure. Soccer fans that say we're soccer fans should recognize a good game. Well, what about you?
Yeah, I think the intent behind this, I 100% agree, goal. I don't necessarily like gatekeeping, being like, oh, you're dumb or something like that, because you see that so much on the Facebook groups, right? Like somebody, so this is my favorite thing, right? Everybody on there is like, they'll state opinion, and then somebody will be like, did you ever play soccer? And they're like, no. And like, what did you play? Well, I played, like JV soccer in high school, if they have JV soccer in high school. And you're like, okay, that doesn't really count. Yeah. Like, nobody on Facebook is a professional soccer player. Like, how are you gatekeeping? Like, give me a freaking break, you know? But yes, I hate that gatekeeping. Okay, so next one. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I sent you this picture last night, and it's Thor's haircut. Goal or no goal?
I gotta go no goal, man. I thought like the long hair with the headband was cool. This looks like, I don't know, man. I have to no goal on that one. I hope you post a picture of it, because he looks like, I teach middle school. He kind of looks like an edgy middle schooler right now. Like, he looks like he plays baseball in middle school. Like, that guy would be wearing pit vipers and be like flicking boogers at people.
You know, it was kind of funny, and I kind of give a no goal here. When I saw it and they said Thorson came on, I was like, where is he? And I'm like, why is JGR out there? Because I was like, it kind of looked like JGR from the video cast there. And finally I realized, oh, he must have changed his haircut. And then they showed a zoom up on him. I'm like, is this actually Thor? Like, what's going on here? So yeah, I would have to give a no goal here.
How about a personal one? Kansas City barbecue lacks flavor. Goal, no goal.
Well, I think as a fan of City, like we have to say goal here. If we're actually being honest, like KC barbecue obviously has a lot of history and stuff like that. However, in saying this truly unbiased, I do personally prefer a lot of the St. Louis barbecue over the Kansas City. Like for instance, Heavy Smoke. Oh my gosh, Salt and Smoke, two of my favorite places. Honestly, I like it better than any of the Kansas City barbecue. Oklahoma Joe's, which they called it something else now, like they renamed it, might be like my favorite out there. But man, Heavy Smoke, especially if you get the spicy pineapple barbecue sauce, nice addition, by the way.
Okay.
But yeah, so
Barbecue talk. So like, I love smoking barbecue, even though I don't eat meat. I love smoking barbecue. I use a ton of smoke. And when we were in Kansas City, I noticed that they just drown their meat in barbecue sauce. Like you don't even get to taste the actual meat. You just put low rent barbecue sauce on everything, and you don't even get to like. It's not even barbecue at this point. It's just sauce, and it's gross. And because that's why it does. That's why it likes flavor. My mouth's salivating because like you get a good apple chip on there or pear chip. Forget about it. It's just the best. St. Louis barbecue for the win, man.
yeah, so
Here we go. Goal, no goal. City soccer is far more entertaining than the Cardinals right now. Even though we just missed the playoffs, like seriously.
goal.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've railed on the Cardinals for a long time. You guys on the podcast have heard this, and it just felt like that they were trying to not gatekeep, but gaslight us so much. And then finally, the big news this past week has been that they basically said that they're going to start blowing things up. They're redoing the minors, which is great. They're using Bloom to basically fix all this, hopefully. He's the one that was responsible for the Rays farm system for, I think, 15 years, I heard. And I just saw a tweet that Sonny Gray, they're looking at possibly shipping him off and trying to get some players. So it looks like St. Louis Cardinals are heading towards a full rebuild, possibly. And you know what? About time.
Yeah.
You know, it's about time to do something. They're finally listening to fans.
The dreaded rebuild. Like the fact you're saying they're having to rebuild their minor league system is the saddest part because that was what the Cardinals were in the 90s. Like
They were.
You knew players coming up from the A League are going to make it to the major league, and you know they were going to be strong. You know it was going to be impactful. And now we're having to blow that up too. So about 10 years, we're going to be a great baseball team again. I see. Good.
Hopefully. And you know what? That's one thing I appreciate about City is I feel like they have not gaslit us at any point. You know, there's a reason. Actually, my father had sent me a meme, and it was like people dancing, and they put players' faces on there.
Yeah.
And the person in front wasn't a player. Guess who it was? It was Flutes.
Yeah.
You know, like how often do people recognize his face? How often do people talk about somebody like that? And I think it's because he's so transparent. He's also very approachable. He gets fans. I don't think he's gaslighting us, and he's actually trying to do something. You know,
Yeah.
it's refreshing. It's refreshing.
I mean, it's obvious the Cardinals are just, at this point for the last several years, I've said it, they're lazy. Like you said, they aren't trying to innovate because they've got the name. People are going to come from all over the country still to come see the Cardinals play because it is the St. Louis Cardinals. There's a shit of statues out front. But you know, these people that are playing on the team now are going to have their own statue. Like, this is not it, you know?
Yeah.
And you got the ownership still threatening to move the team. Like, come on. Let's just stop this. Like, be better. But yeah, that was a goal or no goal that just came off the tip of my brain. That's good. So this season is over now, right? Like we get to just say like, hey, we got a great run. We beat Kansas City. We are done, right? Like season's over. Like there's no more games to play, right? We're all done, right? We get to go.
Three more to go.
We don't have to play LAFC in LA next week. No, we're good, right? We're done.
Yeah, and the thing is fans may be looking at this, okay, like what's left of the season, but part of this is actually super important. If you want to look at this as something, this is basically our preseason going into next year because, like I said, we actually have an awesome team here. We have a lot of potential. This is a great time for these guys to gel even further because, as you probably saw with the telecast last night, there's many times where the ball was passed and people just weren't on the same page. Part of that is because these players haven't played together for very long. You know,
Right.
I get that soccer is soccer, but there's still some tendencies that you need to learn each other. This is a perfect time. This is actually great for us because we don't have to start the season completely fresh.
Right.
We basically literally could experiment these next 3 games, see what we have.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And, I wonder if we could play spoiler for LA, if we can try to go in there and try to stop them from getting top. But, that's kind of where we have to be. All 3 teams that we're playing are in the playoffs. They're going to be in the playoffs. And, I wonder how experimental we get. I'm thinking we're going to see a lot of our starters against Houston at home. But I'm thinking in Minnesota, the last game of the season, if it does have any kind of impact on Minnesota, we're not going to see very many of our starters in that match.
So, goal or no goal? You ready for this? Okay. So, we have 3 games left, and we talked about experimenting. But Hackworth is currently the interim coach. So the problem is he's not going to want to play for next year because he's fighting for his job right now. Meaning that he's focused on winning and putting a good product out there, not necessarily what's going to be good for the team moving forth. So if Lutz and company feels that he should be the head coach next year, they should name him head coach today.
Yeah, goal.
Goal or no goal?
Yeah, I say goal. So that way we can, I guess if they name him head coach, we probably wouldn't see very much of the experimentation because he'd be advertising his style for the rest of the season and going into the next season. I don't until I hear John Hackworth himself saying I want to be the head coach for sure. It's all just speculation. I know he said he's playing. He said he's playing. He's playing to be the head coach, but that's just talk. I want him to say yeah, I want to be the head coach. Then I'll know, and then I'll be like, oh crap, now we gotta let him down. But until I hear that, it's just people saying that. I think we've got 3 more games and our goal differential is -12. I don't know how the hell we make that up, but I would love to get as close to 0 as possible. At least get these down to double digits. Because at one point we were -17. Let's get this down as close as possible to -7 or something. Just, we got to stop. I think that's the biggest thing this year is that goal differential was wild. That's what I got.
Yeah, and you know what? We want to win these last 3 games because you want to go into the offseason saying, yeah, we're actually a winning team.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to say, especially the new guys, yeah, we're a winning team, but it was because of the old team that kind of screwed us over.
Yeah.
But now we're the good team.
Yep.
So
since these players started, this is where we are. We can see we're improving. That. Right. That's we want to try to win. I think we can probably win against Houston, and if Minnesota's a lock, they're not going to play. So maybe we have a win against Houston. I don't think LAFC is going to come in there and let us go into LA and beat them. I think Perangelo, their head coach, is going to put everyone out there he can. I do see we may have some lesser squads for Houston and Minnesota. So we could get to it. We could get 6 points out of the next 3 matches, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's getting close to that time. Any last thoughts before we head off?
Yeah. Find us online. BRB Fancast, Twitter, BRB Fancast on YouTube, BRB Fancast, Steve and AJ on Facebook, plus a little guy named Zipper. Find us out there and just know we're going to be doing a lot of stuff during the off season too. But check us out. We have a website. Go there and see those ref reports. Go there and see all the different cool stuff we're doing. So it's going to be an exciting off season. Probably a better off season for us than City. I think I got to say that. I'm pretty sure it's going to be more productive than what City's doing. Don't worry about them. Come see us.
Right. Okay. Well, on that note, we'll catch you guys next time. The next game is this Wednesday against LAFC. And we'll see hopefully another win. Let's continue this win streak. and this would not be against the bottom feeder. So that would really cap off this win streak. So yeah, let's go City.
Let's go Silver City.